Allie. Join me as I make this Northstar Pendant, which you can do as the top, the bottom, or connect them and make a bigger one like I did here. Remember, if you need any materials like the pearls, the rivolis, you can go down below the video and hit that show more button in the description, and that'll bring you a link to get back to the site. As always, gather up your materials and let's get started. So to begin, we are going to start with the back top of the pendant. We're going to be working with a 14mm Rivoli, 2mm bicones, 8 O's, 15 O's, and some 4mm pearls for both the top and the bottom. For the bottom, we are going to use an 18mm Rivoli, and I can't wait to use this Mystic Greige color. I think it's going to look great. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. So let's just start with one. We're starting with the 14mm Rivoli, and we're starting at the back. To start in the back, we are going to be using 15s and our pearls. I want you to add to your thread and needle a 15 pearl and repeat that a total of 4 times and drop that to the bottom of your size 8 dragon thread. And I have a size 11 needle that I'm working with. From here, I'm going to go back through that first 15 and I'm going to come out through a pearl right after. Give a nice tight pull, making sure you don't have a lot of extra thread added. And now we're going to add our first little section in between each pearl. Between each pearl, we're going to basically grow it. So we're going to go 15, and then an 8, and then a 2, back to an 8, back to a 15. Skip over the 15 that's already there and sew through the next 4mm pearl. That's going to kind of stick up at the edge and not even really want to fit in there right. That's okay. Again, 15, 8, 2, 15, 8, 15 through the next pearl. So we're going to do this 2 more times to get the start of our piece. As you finish up with your last corner here, pull your thread and needle, pull through that first pearl that your thread was originally coming out of. You're also going to go through that first 15 seed bead that you put on, the first 8, the 2mm bicone, and then down and out through the second 8. Now we're going to add and connect to all of the 8 seed beads from corner to corner. Connecting to those, I want you to add another pearl. So we're going to add a 15, a pearl, and a 15, and then go over to the next section, go through the 8 that's there, the 2, and the 8, and out. Whole way around. 15, pearl, 15. And then up through the next 8 to 8. Two more times to finish up that time around. Now keep in mind, you're going to be doing the same sort of technique as we go in, but just with more corners and more beads as we use a bigger Rivoli. So these steps remain the same. Last one in, 15 pearl, 15, and up through the 8. And then we're going to go ahead and take our thread and needle through everything right here. Come out through that pearl. Coming out through the pearl, then go ahead and wait there as we get ready to do our next step. Coming out the pearl now, I want you to grab 1 15, followed by 1 8, followed by 2 more 15s. And then you're going to come into the pearl or into the crystal that sits in the corner. And just kind of let that sit there. So coming out of the crystal, you're going to do the same thing. 2 15s, followed by 1 of your 8 O's, followed by 1 15, and into the pearl. So going into the pearl, 1 15, going into the crystal or out of it, you're doing 2. Coming here, you're going to do 1 and 8, 2 15s, and into your next crystal. Coming out of the 2mm, you're reversing. And you can see everything that we do, we're doing in sets of 2. So 2 of our 15s, 1 of our 8s, 2 of our 15s, and into the next purl. Or sorry, 1 of our 15s. 2, 15, 1, 8, 1, 15, purl. Coming out of the purl then again, 1, 15, 1, 8, 2 15s, crystal. You can see it's taking shape really, really nicely. Coming out of the crystal, 2 15s, 1, 8, 1, 15, and purl. And almost done with this set. Finishing it up, 1 15, 1 8, 2 15s, crystal. One more time now to get from this crystal to that purl. 2 15s, 1 8, 1 15, into the purl. That's already there. So far, so good, really easy going in and connecting them. Now what we're going to do is we are going to get ready to fold in some of our sides and add in our crystal to that center. So you can see there's kind of 8 of our 8-0s sitting around the outer edge. Our crystal is going to sit in the middle, and we're going to pull those towards the center. So coming out after the crystal, we're going to be bending this in. You want to have on your needle and thread 2 15s, a crystal, an 8, a crystal, and 2 15s. You're going to sew into the next 8, and then we're going to sew and change up the order, but over top of the purl. So these are all going to get folded in towards the center. Here along the edge, you are going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of your 15s onto the next edge. And there you have it. Then again, you're going to do 2 15s, 1 2mm bicone, 1 8, 1 2mm bicone, and 1 and 2 more 15s. Once you have that, into your next 8. Just the 8. Then over top of the purls, connecting the 8s there, again, 6 of your 15s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. On to the next 8. So go ahead and do that 2 more times, connecting our corners, and then we're going to start to bring these in towards the center on our next go round. Oops, and create our little prongs to hold on to. Sewing in here into the last of the 8 after adding my 6 seed beads above the purl. I'm going to continue to sew over into the 2mm and into that corner 8. What that does is gets me set up to pull those corners in towards the center to create my bail to hold my rivoli in place. So my rivoli is going to tuck in here as we go around, and we're going to build sides to hold those prongs from side to side, connecting all of our corner 8-0 seed beads. Coming out of the corner 8s here, you're going to add 3 of your 15s, 1 8, 3 more 15s. Then go through the next 8. 3 1 3 through the next 8. 3 1 3 through the next 8. 3 1 3 through the next 8. You can see I did not pull very tightly because before I pull, I've got to get my 14mm rivoli, stick it right in the center there, and then give a nice tight pull, and it fits perfectly. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go around that center line one more time, adding in our 15s, or sewing through our 15s and our 8. And what this does is anytime you have a bezel and a rivoli sitting inside, this is going to make sure that it's pulled nice and tightly, and that way you're not going to, by accident, have it fall out, because that's sad. So I'm just going around the outer row, pulling nice and tight, getting that into its place so it does not move around. If you notice because of your beads and you're like, oh my goodness, it's moving around a little bit, I'm going to show you this cheat. Because sometimes, even though they say they're 14, some rivolis, different suppliers, are going to be slightly different sizes. So after doing so, if you still have a little bit of gap or a little bit of give, what you can do is go into, and I'll actually do this for this one, go the whole way across your grouping of 3 15s, 1 8, 3 15s. And before the corner there, coming out, here's where we're going to skip in front of that. Add 1 15, skip in front of the 8 there, and then sew through the next line of our beads. Make sure that 15 gets pulled tight towards the center in that middle and sits right on top of that 8-0. Just right in there. Now again, do this 4 times. 15 goes on, go to this line of beads. Not going to make you painstakingly watch me with every single one here, but go in. Even if you go through the 8-0 that's after it, that's okay. Go in, push that toward the front, give a nice tight pull. I'll do that 2 more times, and then we're going to get ready to step it up and do our next size of our rivoli. So I set my 14 millimeter rivoli to the side here, and I really love that rose water opal. Kind of sparkles like crazy. I kept the needle and thread on there because I like to do that if I'm not completely finished with the project, because if you want to seam it together, change it up a little bit, you never know. So I have a new piece of thread with a long piece of that dragon thread, and I'm going to take my stop bead, drop it down to the end, and then I'm starting the exact same process over again. Everything we did in 4s, this time we're going to do in 5 for the bigger rivoli. So we're going up a little bit for the 14 millimeter. So remember how we did a 15 and then we did a purl, and you can always rewind the video and watch. I'm not going to walk you through those same exact steps because you'll get bored watching me over and over. But right now I'm going in, I'm going to add my 5 purls, and then I'll do a little reminder for each step for you. And right now I have 4 on, and remember we're going to do a 5th. From here, take your needle and thread through the 14, through the purl. I'm also going to go with this one as I get a little bit bigger through the next 15 and out the second purl. Then remember, it's corner time. So in the corners, we went ahead then and we added a 15, 8, 2 millimeter, 8, 15, and into the next purl. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to do a 15, 8, 2 millimeter, 8, 15, into the next purl. So go ahead and go around and do the same thing that you did for the smaller one for the bigger one, but this time 5 times instead of 4. So finishing up now, I'm going back through the first 15, 8, 2, and out the 8. You can see I have it 5 times instead of my 4. And now this time what we're doing is we're building up from here a 15 and a purl between each of our 8s. And then remember, as we go through here, we're going through the corners of the 8 to 8. So this one is going to be, let's move this guy out of here for now. It's going to be 15, purl, 15, into your next 8, into the 2, out the next 8. Same thing all the way around. 15 purl, 15, in, out, in, out. Next step is when we use our 15s and we use them next to the 2s. So I'm going to pour out a couple more of my 15s, and we use 15s and 8s for this. And what we're going to do again is coming out of our crystal, we're going to do 2 15s followed by 1 8, 1 15 into the purl. And then we reverse that, remember. So out of the purl, 1 15, 1 8, 2 15s into the corner crystal. I guess there's not really a corner because there's 5. Whole way around, adding in that level of your 8s. Once you're done that row, you want to come out of the 8-0 seed bead. And remember, we're here at the next one. In between our pearls, we're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 of our 15s into the next 8. Over top of that pearl, here's where you're going to do 2 15s followed by crystal, 8, crystal, 2 15s into the next 8 seed bead. Remember this step, we just are going around and around and around. And then we get ready to pull it back for our bezel. After this, you can see the florally design. We're going up and we're getting ready to pull in those 8 seed beads. So as we pull in the 8 seed beads, the back will lay down and the 8 will go towards the front. Remember last time when we did this, we had our 8 that were kind of going every which way. And as we pull them up, I'm going to move it here so you can see it. These all go towards the center to create that fun bail. So now we're going to go from 8 to 8 to 8 on all the corners here. And we're going to add some seed beads to connect them all. After you get your 3, 1, 3 combo in there, holding on to all of the pieces here, you can see then you pull nice and tight like the other one and go back around and reinforce. So again, we're just going to go back through those 3 seed beads, the 1 8 0, the 3 seed beads, back through each of our 5 pointed corners here of our piece, and you pull back, and your 18 millimeter is going to fit in oh so nicely as you work your way around. As you go around the circle reinforcing, this time I want you, because it's a little bit bigger, to take 2 15s if you want to skip over that corner bead and then sew into those next 7 beads across the way. Going over through those 3 15s, the 1 8, your 3 15s, and then out. It often wants to go through the next 8. That's okay if you need to take it out there. Bend those 2 15s towards the front. Go back through that 8, hoping that your thread's not getting tangled anywhere there. Add those 2 15s, and then again onto your next grouping of your line of beads. As you do this, once again, go ahead and push those 2 beads towards the center, give a nice tight pull, and keep going the whole way around your rivoli. Once you're done with that center here, you have your 5 and your 4 version, and we are going to stack them one on top of the other. So the 5 obviously is an odd count. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spin around to the top here between some of my pearls, and we're going to connect that right there to the 8s. Basically the 8s are going to line up right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one that I'm currently working on, and I'm going to get rid of the thread. And when I say get rid of the thread, what that means is sew back into the piece, and we'll use the thread from the first piece here. We're sewing back into the design, and we're going to go to the center. Sometimes easier said than done. Get back into the design, go into the center, and whenever you're downgrading or like bringing your needle back towards the middle, you just want to make sure that you bring your thread pass the exact same way, or if you can't see the exact same way, at least somewhere that it's in the back. So you can see I'm going through beads that I've already gone through that are already connected one to the other. Fishing back through that 15. If you can't get it, don't worry about it because you're not going to see it. There in the back. Bringing my thread and needle then out right next to that starter thread. I'm going to take off that stop bead, tie those thread ends off, and then we'll get ready to create together and link them together. If I can get rid of some thread ends right away, I like to do it just because then it's not getting all twisted together, especially this is a component piece. So as you build the components together, nice tight knot there. Take my thread zapper, my thread burner, burn those down, burn them against the project. All right, now connection time. So for the connection here, we're going to take the upper one or the 14 millimeter, and we are going to connect it. I move my beads out of the way here. Get some of my thread out of the way. We're going to connect it to the bottom piece. So what I want to do is I want to take my thread and needle from this top rivoli, and I want to get down to the 8/0s and out the 8/0. And as I go out the 8/0 here, this is my connection. from 8/0 to 8/0. So we're going to take our thread and needle coming out this 8/0, grab a 15, go through the 8/0 that sits below on a flat section, purl underneath. So through the 8/0 there, we're going to sew through all of our 15s there along the top, out the other 8/0 on the opposite side, grab a 15, sew into the 8 up at the top that sits opposite, and we're sewing towards the other 8. So our thread's basically looping around in a big circle, almost like a right angle weave. Pulling that nice and tight. That connects our two, one on top of the other for our pendant. I'm going to reinforce that connection by going through the seed beads along the bottom, or along this one here, through seed beads, crystal, out the 8, go back around the whole way here, and then I'm going to work my thread up to put a bail right at the top. When it comes to bails, there are so many different ways that you can do this, but what I did is I came out the top here, and we're going to spin this around here. I came out the top here between those last two 15/0s that are after the crystal, kind of sitting right over top of that stop bead. Coming out of those and kind of right next to that 8/0 seed bead, I went 2 15s followed by an 8, followed by 15 of more of my 2 seed beads. I'm going to go back through those 2 15s prior to that little loop, and we're going to make another one on the other side. To get to the other side into that same position, I'm going to go down through the 2 that I already came up through, over across the 2mm crystal right there. I know it can be a little bit hard and tricky to see. Wiggle your needle through there. Over to the other side, out through the 2 15s right before the crystal. Wiggling through there. Starting to feel my 40-year-old eyes. Okay, up through there. Through those 2 15/0s. And same thing. So we're going to do 2 more 15s and 8. We're going to clean up my bead mat here with all my little 15s kind of sitting around. It's always nice when you can just kind of clean up to make your bail. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now I'm going to go fish around my bead mat. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. All right, now as you go fish around your bead mat there, go back down through that 8, back down through that 15s, and then back over into the 8/0 seed bead. That creates 2 identical loops in the exact same spot here. So that way when we take our cord through, it hangs nice and centered. I like the double bail there. So now what we're going to do is take our thread ends, reinforce, and do the exact same thing here at the top with our bunny ears, and then we're going to tie off our thread ends to the back. Getting my thread ends then to the back, just like we did the other one, you're going to grab both ends, tie them together, right over left, left over right. Nice tie, pull that up, burn, burn down flat. Once you have those thread ends burned down, you're just going to take whatever cord you want. Make this go a little bit higher there so you can see the view. Just going to take it right through whatever cord ends you want. And then your pendant is completely finished. It is eye-catching and sparkly, and I can't wait to see it in lots of different colors. Thanks so much for joining me in creating this fun Northstar pendant. There are a lot of varieties that you can do, but hopefully it shows you how to build a bezel without having to do peyote stitch. Remember, if you need any materials, go below the video, hit the description button, show more, and a link will be there to get to our site. I cannot wait to see all of your different versions in our beading group for Beading and Joy Making in Facebook, as well as if you haven't yet become a Potomac beader, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything from us here. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more creative designs.